Day 17. We didn't wake up. We were woken up. The sound came before consciousness, a dry click echoing through the underground parking lot as if it had jumped between concrete pillars. It wasn't from the speaker. It wasn't from an infected. It was human. The woman opened her eyes first, me right after. The speaker was sitting up, still tied, breathing deeply like he was holding himself back from making involuntary sounds. "What was that?" I asked in a low voice. She put a finger to her lips, then pointed upward. Up there, someone was walking. Long steps, steady, careful, not infected. Infected drag, scratch, stumble. This one didn't. This one hunted. It took a few seconds before the speaker whispered, "It's one of them." "Red vests?" I asked. He shook his head slowly. "No, the other group." The woman added, "The group that trains the infected." "That one," the speaker said. I looked around. The parking lot was even darker than the night before. The emergency lights had died. The silence was thick, like it had weight. Then, 2 quick clicks. Tick, tick. The speaker squeezed his eyes shut as if it hurt. "He's mapping." "Mapping what?" I asked. "Our positions," he answered, trembling. "Listen to the echo." I listened. Tick, pause, tuck. Tick, longer pause, tuck. He wasn't just walking. He was drawing sound lines, measuring distance, calculating depth. Like a bat, like radar, like a night predator using the world itself as a sensor. The woman gripped my arm tight. "We need to get out of here." I knew that, but if we went up, we'd be going up into his field. It's not just someone who hunts, it's someone who trains monsters to hunt. We waited a few more minutes until the footsteps moved farther away. The speaker twisted now and then, small involuntary spasms, like the voice inside him reacted to the human sound outside. We cut his ropes partially, leaving just enough to keep him from slipping into a trance. We climbed the ramp out of the parking lot. The cold wind hit first, then the gray light of dawn. The world outside looked too clean. A street with no trash, no objects, no corpses, and, most of all, no infected. That meant one thing. "Hunting zone," the woman murmured. I nodded. Marked territory, arranged territory, territory where something smarter than infected set the rules. The speaker shrank into himself, glancing around like he expected an attack at any second. "They always leave it like this," he whispered, "to see how you move." "They? Who?" I asked. "The trainers, the ones who shape behavior." He took a shaky breath. "And sometimes the caller himself." My stomach turned, because that meant Day 17 wasn't just dangerous, it was scripted. Farther down, at a seemingly normal corner, a white van sat parked, too clean, too intact. The van hadn't been there yesterday. The woman clutched the notebook to her chest. "They're watching." The speaker added, "They're spying on how we react." Observation number 37. In places where everything looks a little too organized, someone is using the world as a game board. We walked slowly, trying to stick to shadows, walls, the gaps between buildings. For almost 10 minutes, nothing happened. Then we saw it. In a house to the right, with all the windows boarded up and covered with dark cloth, the front door was slightly open. And behind the gap, an eye. Not infected, not empty, human, but not normal. The eye didn't blink, didn't twitch, didn't flinch at the light. It measured. The speaker froze. He's looking at us." "Who is he?" I asked. "A hunter, one of the trainers." He swallowed hard. "They look first, then they send the call." The woman moved closer to me, whispering, "He's not blinking, did you notice?" "Yeah." "You know why?" I looked at her. "Why?" "Because they train not to blink when they're acquiring targets." The eye stayed still. Then the door opened fully. The man stepped out. Tall, thin, wearing a dark vest with no markings. No weapons visible. No rush. And his steps were so quiet, the ground itself seemed to erase them. He stared at us, then looked at the speaker with a disturbing kind of interest, and spoke, a human voice, calm, clean. "You came back to him." The speaker trembled. I didn't." "You did," the man repeated. "Every echo returns to the source." I stepped forward instinctively. "Don't come any closer." The man smiled, a small, calculated smile. "You think I want you now?" The woman answered in the same cold tone. "What do you want?" He tilted his head slightly, studying how we stood, how we breathed, the weight of our steps. It was like he was collecting invisible data. Then he said, "I want to see how you run," and turned his back. Just like that, turned and started walking away. But every step he took felt planted, measured, rehearsed. The speaker cried silently. He called. "Called what?" I asked. The speaker answered, "Them, the ones he trains." 3 seconds later, I heard it. A thin sound, raspy, scratching. Then footsteps. Then more footsteps, several. And then silhouettes appeared at the edge of the street, thin, fast, infected, with hunched shoulders like predators. But there was something different about them. They didn't come straight at us. They came from the sides, in curves, flanking. The woman noticed at the same time I did. "They're using a surround tactic." "Infected don't do that," I shot back. "These do." The speaker dropped to his knees. It's training. He's testing routes." The white van at the corner slid its side door open. Inside, 2 human figures with clipboards, filming, evaluating, timing. As if we were in an arena. Not as if. We were in an arena. The woman grabbed my arm hard. "We run, now!" We sprinted through back alleys, weaving between walls and narrow passages. The infected came after us. Too fast, too slower, one moving along the top of a wall like a trained animal. Their curves were too precise. Their timing too synchronized. And worse, they weren't heading only toward our footprints. They were heading toward the effect of our breathing. The speaker shouted, stumbling, "They're changing focus. They're tracking hot scent." "Hot scent?" I asked. "Of fear. Fear brings sweat to the skin. They're tracking fear." That's when I understood. They weren't just hunting us. They were scoring us. We cut through a narrow corridor between buildings. The woman shoved a crate into the way, a tiny obstacle, enough to slow the slower infected. The faster one leaped right over it. The man by the van shouted, "Mark 9, speed 3. The woman yelled back, furious, "Go to hell!" His voice answered, calm, "We're already there." We burst into an abandoned auto shop. The smell of old oil masked our scent. The speaker collapsed to the floor, breathing fast, fighting his own mind so it wouldn't produce another involuntary low. The woman peeked through a crack in the door. They stopped. "Why?" I asked. "Because now they want to know if we think better standing still or moving." She looked at me, serious. "They're trainers. They want to understand pattern." I answered, "Then we break pattern." Rule number 35. When you're being watched, do something even you wouldn't expect from yourself. Instead of escaping through the obvious exit, the side street, we went out through the roof. The shop had an inner staircase leading to a rusty skylight. We climbed up. The woman first, me second, the speaker last with help. From up there, we saw the field. We saw the man in the dark vest standing in the middle of the street watching everything like a conductor. We saw 3 infected below waiting for a command. We saw the van recording. And far off at the end of the street, we saw a larger infected, broader, slower, with a strange posture, almost like it was holding position. The speaker recognized it immediately. That one's a training specimen. They use it to rehearse horde behavior. I took a deep breath. Then we test them too. The woman looked at me. What are you thinking? Remember what her husband wrote? What? They don't understand sudden vertical falls. Her eyes widened. You're not. We are. We grabbed a big metal bar, probably part of some old machine, and dropped it from the roof straight onto a pile of junk. The bar hit with a crash. The infected reacted instantly, not toward the junk, but toward the opposite corner. They were fooled. The trainer lifted his head, surprised. The woman whispered, "They're calibrated for specific patterns." "Exactly," I said, "and vertical fall isn't in the pattern set." The trainer murmured something into his radio. Then he spoke out loud, for us. Interesting. We bolted across the rooftop, jumping to a lower building, sliding down a sagging awning that almost tore under our weight. Below, the infected tried to climb, but without coordinated tactics. It was our first real advantage of the day. The woman pointed to a narrow street leading into an even cleaner area. If we reach that, we buy a few minutes. Why? They reposition the infected by sectors. She took a breath. And an empty sector is a sector in reconfiguration. The speaker confirmed weakly. Yeah, they work in quadrants. If we enter the empty one, it confuses the algorithm. I stopped. Wait, what is it? She asked. You said algorithm? Yes, the speaker answered. They train horde behavior like you train artificial intelligence. I felt ice run down my spine. They weren't just violent survivors. They were scientists applying machine logic to human and infected chaos. And they were good at it. We ran toward the clean zone. For a moment, I felt relief. It lasted about 3 steps. At the entrance, written on the ground in white paint, there was a message. Hunting Zone, Level 2. The sun was already high when we crossed 2 more streets. No infected, no trainers, no van. Just pure silence. Silence that seemed to listen. Then, from some hidden speaker, a male voice echoed. You move very well for people who came from the underground. The woman's eyes went wide. It's him. The trainer? She shook her head. No. Then who? The voice continued. You 3 have something the others don't. Pause. Curiosity. Another pause. And that's dangerous. It was like taking an invisible slap. The voice was human, very human, too human. Clear, educated, and deep in a way that shouldn't be possible. The woman looked at me, trembling. It's the caller. No, the caller doesn't sound like that. You don't know how he sounds. The voice said, Don't worry, I don't want you yet. A long pause. But I do want you to run. My blood went cold. The woman yanked my arm. Now! We ran. The speaker, even-tied, ran as best he could. The infected appeared behind us, but they didn't come straight. They came in spirals, as if closing in while advancing. The caller's voice spoke one last time, now softer. You're better than the last ones. That twisted compliment almost made me stumble, because if he was comparing, it meant there were last ones, and last ones means they died, or worse, been used. We reached the end of the street, and there, finally, an exit. A side road full of abandoned cars, chaotic, messy, with none of the clean pattern of the hunting zones. Normal territory. Uncontrolled territory.
The kind of territory where survival is at least possible. We ran into it. Behind us, the hunting zone went quiet, like an invisible door had closed. That was day 17. We hid in a collapsed office building, protected by debris and by the fact that no one could see us clearly from outside. The woman wrote in the notebook, "Day 17. They train infected the way you train machines, and use humans as data. We were a test, and worse, we passed." The speaker slept from sheer exhaustion, making no sounds. For the first time in days, he slept in complete silence. But I couldn't, not because of the infected, but because the caller's voice kept repeating in my head, "You run better than the last ones." I didn't know if that was a compliment or a warning.